Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday's Live here in True Alignment Academy, 3 p.m. Central. And I've been so stoked about today because I have a special guest with me, Kaci. I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Kaci Alvarado, and I'm in Amarillo, Texas. I am a registered nurse family care specialist for Life Gift, and I am super happy to be here.
Yes. I'm so excited to have Kaci with us today. She is going to be sharing her experience as how she is a nurse, and she also has created her own state of healing. She gave herself that healing through these tools, and also she is able to do this job with peace, which is absolutely unheard of, right? I mean, how much I wish I could have had that whenever I was still at bedside, and all the burnout and everything. So she's going to tell us all about it. If you are joining me for the first time, please put hashtag live and tell me where you're from. Tell me if you're a nurse or what type of work that you do. And if you are joining us again, hello friends, and please put in hashtag live or hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. So excited you've joined us once again. You are in for such a treat. This is going to be huge today. So if you have questions for Kaci, or have any questions at all, hi Sabrina, hi Deanne. Please put your questions in the chat and I will get to them. It looks like technology's on my side, unlike last week. It was crazy last week. So if I see your question, I will make sure we get that question answered. If not, we'll go back into the chat and answer that for you. All right, so I'm just going to start with a couple of questions, Kaci. So first, tell us where you were and what was going on before you started the program, this healing program. And what was your goal in joining the program? And what were you hoping to gain?
So I had been to an emotional intelligence training and done some really great work there, but I was still going back to unhealthy codependent relationships and engaging in self-sabotage, spending money in a way that kept me in a constant state of chaos. I was a brand new baby nurse when COVID hit. I was the charge nurse of a COVID unit, and that year, that's just the first year of COVID, I buried 97 patients, a doctor, and a housekeeper, and then ended up in bad shape in the hospital myself. And I lived for way too long in an oh, poor me state of mind. And I didn't want to live like that anymore. I needed different. I knew it was possible and I wanted more.
Wow. Before we hopped on the call, guys, we were just talking about the conditions of COVID. And if you were working during COVID, that was one of the things, right? We were talking about how we would, I went like 3 months and none of my patients lived, and having the capacity to even be able to function in holding not only your own grief, but everyone else's grief around you, and so it was heavy. It was heavy for sure. So tell me, what was your biggest why in doing this work?
My kids, and not just my kids, but their kids that aren't even born yet. I was watching at that time my teenage kids making some of the same bad choices that I had in the past, and I knew that I had to show them that there was different out there and that different choices could be made and those generational curses could be broken, and they did not have to repeat the cycle, that I didn't have to repeat that cycle. I knew that if I broke that cycle of chaos, that they could have better lives.
Wow. Yes, I so resonate with that. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Luis. Thank you all for joining us. We are interviewing. I have Kaci here live today, and it's such a treat. If you have questions, please make sure that you put your questions in the comments, and we will get to them. Kaci, that's funny you say that, because that's one of the main reasons why I, found these tools and went into the healing program myself, is because I was like, I can't keep showing up like this for Oh, hi, Cindy. She's here too. Dr. Cindy's here too. And I couldn't keep showing up the way that I was showing up for him. In fact, I was telling you, Kaci, right before we hopped on here that, when someone told me how to be present with my son, I was like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Because in here, I was always at the hospital, I was waking up in the middle of the night, right? Like, what did I forget? And I was constantly there was like a war in my mind 24/7 and chaos. Can we just say the definition of chaos?
So much
Right?
chaos.
So much chaos. And, I love that you brought up breaking generational curses. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more, but it's so huge because, right, what runs through our family line is so powerful and strong, and down to a cellular level, these curses, alcoholism, drugs, chaos, and drama. And, you know, I made a post about this just the other day. There's so much that runs through our family line that's strong. And until we stand up and say we want to be the chain breakers and we want our future generations to be different, and through this healing is exactly how it's done. So, yes, ma'am. Love it. So what were your expectations about the program? Like what did you think was going to happen versus what actually happened?
Well, since I had been to a training before, I kind of expected it to be like that, which was really scary to me because I didn't want it to be like that, or kind of like I expected it to be maybe kind of like therapy. I didn't really know what to expect, but from the very first call and the very first meeting, um, just even the history meeting with Oz, I could feel the excitement that everybody else brought to the table and how much they had gained from it personally. And I wanted that healing. And I just felt supported and encouraged and empowered. I never felt ashamed or like anyone was looking at me like I was broken. Like people were looking at me like I had potential instead of like I was just damaged. And so just coming in and sharing my wins and getting that support and encouraging other people from the very first Monday I was there, it was just powerful and encouraging. And I needed more.
Yes. I love that you said that. Like, it's almost like that because I went through years of therapy as well, years and years of therapy and everything I could get my hands on. I mean, as a nurse, it was like you do reach out and you're like, what avenue can I get to help me function with all of this death and everything else that's going on and the ethical components. I mean, you name it. And I always also felt that way, right? Like I was being looked at like I was broken, like I was damaged. And, and one of the most significant things that hit me at my core whenever I went through this healing and this program is that I'm not broken, that we're not broken. I was like, really? We're not, we're not broken. We're not broken. We just don't know how to use our brains. And it's so profound whenever you can know that you are whole, and be around people that look at you and see you to where you feel seen, you feel heard, and you feel understood.
Yeah, all my life it's been Kaci has such big feelings, and now it's my feelings are here to help me, and that is so cool. It's like my feelings are good, they're not bad, and you can hush, you know.
Yes, exactly. I know. And with the programming that we went through, it was like, don't feel your feelings and don't cry around the family and don't cry here. Like go get your composure. You have
Right.
about 30
I
seconds for
had
your next
my
admit.
first semester instructor was Ted, was very famous for saying, put your feelings in your pocket.
Mhm.
Like all the time, put your feelings in your pocket, Kaci. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. And so I've had to unlearn that. No, those feelings belong out here, not in my pocket.
Yes. Oh, I so resonate with that. It was the same for us in nursing school. It's like, don't you dare cry around the instructors or you'll be sent home. And so that programming sits with us. And so it's not safe to feel our feelings. And so when you finally get get a chance to know that, you know what, our brains work and they are made for us to heal. And our emotions are always just trying to communicate with us, and they're safe. And no wonder why we're so scared to visit them when they've been under lock and key for how long, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And it's just every semester they're more, oh no, don't feel this. That's not clinical. You gotta be clinical. Everything's very anesthetic.
Yes. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so as much as you want to unlock them, you know, outside of that professional environment, that you have to keep, it's really hard to reach them once they've been gone for so long. So definitely, I so resonate with that. Tell me, what was one of your biggest shifts you experienced internally or externally, while working through the program?
Oh gosh, I don't know how to pick just one, but I've grown and changed so much. But I guess internally it would just have to be pure and simple my confidence. I have always been insecure, but once I started doing my clearings and resourced myself with the things that I needed, then I had the tools to believe in me. I had love for my true self. I knew that I had the power inside of me to make all of my biggest dreams come true, that they were there and they were there for a reason. I didn't need to be rescued. I just needed to love myself and be my own hero. And externally, I can sleep again without the PTSD nightmares. I don't have the shame and the guilt that haunted me every day. So I can sleep without all of that. My body is not constantly in a state of being on guard. And so for the first time, I know since before I became a mom, I sleep. And sleeping is good.
Yeah. Wow, that's so huge, Kaci. There's so much that you gave me goosebumps. Like, you don't have to rescue anyone else. Like, whew, how big is that,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that no one else needs to save you, and you don't need to rescue anymore,
now I
right?
can just be safe in who I
Wow. Yes, that's incredible. And sleep, yes, sleep is huge. And those nightmares, I mean, you know, it's so funny because I know there's a lot of nurses who do night shift. I did over 10 years of night shift, and sleep becomes one of those things where it's like, you get it or you don't, and you move on. And really, so much happens whenever we are sleeping, that our bodies are able to regulate, you know, during that deep sleep. And so, not after not having sleep for so long, and then now getting sleep, how do you feel?
it's like I have been a zombie for a very long time and I'm finally awake. And like it's like because when you're in that state, I was a night shift nurse on med surge for so many years that you just are in that mode where you're like zombie walking through the day because you got to be there for the kids, you got to be at the school, and all of that happens during the day when you're supposed to be asleep. And so you just live, like you said, you do what you practice, and so you're always in that zombie mode. And I've stayed in that zombie mode for years and years and years. It's like all the jokes and the memes. What does a nurse do on their day off? And it shows they're asleep. Yeah, because that whole first day they're trying to catch up. But to finally be back in a normal sleep cycle and to be just functioning like a human again, it's awesome. And my kids can call and go, Mom, I'm in town, and we can go and do stuff. And I'm present with my children, like you were talking about a minute ago. And I don't have to pretend, yeah, I'm watching, I'm here, I'm not falling asleep sitting on the park bench. But
Yeah.
I'm actually, we are having fun and riding go-karts and going to batting cages, hiking a canyon instead of, okay, in a minute, I just need to sit down for just a minute.
Right.
It's just, we're living and loving the living.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Living and loving the living. And you know, I want to point out it because number one, you can sleep, right? You have this healing, your mind is, you know, this healing affects every single cell in your entire body. And so being able to have that sleep and be present with your children, I mean, truly present, not only from the sleep, but of knowing that you are safe. You create your own safety, right? And like not holding all the emotions who are just the pressure cooker waiting to come out, being able to hold that space for them and be present with them. That's so huge. That's such a huge part of it. Just living life for the first time ever. I think
Yeah.
definitely how I felt too. Oh, those are huge. I'm just so excited for you. And so what fears did you have coming up moving into the program? And like, how did you get over those? And really, I think the biggest question is, how did you give yourself permission to heal?
Okay. I had all the fears, but mostly as insecure as I was, I just didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that I had the strength or the ability or that I was anything different. So if I wasn't anything different, how could I be different? Sorry, frog. Um,
Okay.
and even in the training that I had before, I felt like an outcast. Even though I made my way up and I was a trainer, I still felt left out and cast aside and felt not good enough. And so even through the healing I had already done, I was still letting that not good enough own me. And those feelings kept me convinced that my life would never get better, that I would always be worthless, that I would never amount to anything. And so I don't know that I got over those fears. I just gave myself permission to be scared and keep going anyway. Um, Instead of what if this doesn't work, I was like, what if it does? What do me and my kids get, and their kids and their kids and their kids get if we stop this here and now? And I was like, okay, it's scary. I just have to do it anyway. And I dove in.
Wow. I love that shift. Like, what if it does work? What if it does? And I was talking about this with someone this weekend. It's, what's the definition of courage? And it is having the fear and taking the action in that. And you did that before you even went through the program, and really, so I think it really takes like that step of faith.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It was a huge step of faith for me because I was like, I have already been through a training. I have already been to all this therapy and nothing has fixed. Like everything just shows me, okay, I have this potential, but nothing ever said, okay, get out of your own way, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And it comes down to really just like giving yourself permission, and permission to not only say, yes, I'm going to do it with the fear, but the permission to say, okay, what if this does work? To have hope in another process after you've gotten your healing and you've done this, for all these years of therapy. And it's like, is this going to work? Like, are you sure? Because I did all this. And so, that huge shift really is important. That shift that, you know, instead of what if it doesn't work, what if it does? And I love that. I love that. And it's, results far beyond anyone's imagination. Because not good enough is one of those core beliefs that just sit with you, right? And if y'all are new here and watching, I encourage you to go back to my guides, go back to the guides section. But the way that to get more information on this, but the way that the subconscious mind works is that that's where our belief systems sit. And so everything that we ever receive bypasses the conscious mind, and it goes, and filters through that subconscious mind. And so not good enough, I think, is definitely a big one for nurses. And so, people can tell you you're good enough and you're worthy and these things all day long, and it just gets, they can say it to you all day, but you're not going to believe it.
And it's just like, okay, yeah, I get you. I hear you. I'm great. Yeah. I'm in another pizza. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And you had mentioned before that a big part was for your kids and breaking those generational curses. And I think that's important to mention, that sometimes we have to do it for someone else because we can't do it quite for ourselves. But you know what? By the end,
It's all
who,
about you. It's all about me. And
yes. And I found, I decided to embark on this journey and get my own healing for my son. But at the end, it will always be about you because you are good enough. And you finally get to know that in your knower, right? Like that's the biggest difference for sure. I really want to ask you about, so right now you work with life gift patients. Can you tell me what that's like and how are you able to work in that environment now versus what you would without your healing? Tell me what that would look like.
well, so what I do is I am a family care specialist for Life Gift. So when someone is passing away, um, and their family is making those end of life choices, I am the one who holds their hand. I am the one who, if they are a registered organ donor, I disclose that information to them. If they are not, I offer them that opportunity. And then I hold their hand through the withdrawal of life support and through saying goodbye. And I hold space for them in that precious, darkest, most saddest time in their life. They have somebody there who is just there for them with no agenda and nothing, no bottom line at stake. It's just like I literally get to love people for living. And that's the best job I think on the planet. And I actually don't know that I would have been able to do this 6 months ago. It would have hurt too much. I couldn't be in that operating room watching that mom say goodbye to her son, who's the same age as my son. I wouldn't be able to do that 6 months ago because that pain is too big. But now that I can make that space and hold that space for her and be there for her in her moment, in her grief, I can hold her hand and say, it's okay. Your feelings are healthy and your feelings deserve to be felt. And I am here for you.
Wow.
And I can do that because I can process through what of that is mine and what of that is hers. And I can let go and let her feel her feelings and hold her hand through that because I'm okay and I am that safe place.
Wow. This is so huge, Kaci. I mean, this is the exact definition of what nursing is intended to be,
Yeah.
right? And we, whenever I was caring for patients prior to my healing, I can tell you that all I wanted to do was take their pain, right? And feel their pain. And I would feel it to my bones, like to my bones. And what we're doing when we do that is we actually rob them of that experience. And not only that, but we take that, we have our own pain inside of us that's triggered whenever something like that happens. Like, definitely, if I were to work with, I always used to say I could never do peds once I had a son because there's no way I could see someone his age because I was so enmeshed with him. He was my life and we were just so enmeshed. And, this healing process allows you to separate that enmeshment and give them back what is theirs and take back what's yours. And in that I think that's the biggest, like one of the biggest gifts you could ever give anyone, is allowing them to have their emotions and process what they need to process. And you mentioned holding space. I know a lot of us, I never knew what that meant, right? So holding space means that you have the emotional availability to just be able to hold, literally, kind of like literally and figuratively. Sometimes I really do feel like I could see like a space open up. I feel it, the availability of another person to just kind of hold me there emotionally and allow those emotions to come out without attaching them to you or bleeding all your emotions out on them. Which, yes. And I was like, that's the last thing we went into nursing to do, was to allow our pain to bleed out onto everyone around us. Like we came to help, and so seeing it from this side of having your healing, you're giving more to the patients than you ever did prior to getting your healing.
Yeah, I could never be at bedside again in a clinical vein and still, like, I asked my supervisor when I started this, I'm like, do I need to work a few hours somewhere else to keep my nursing license? And she goes, oh no, honey. Oh no, you're still being a nurse every single day. And but I had no grasp of what I would actually be doing. And then to be here and to literally, like, when I became a nurse, nobody ever says, I want to be a nurse so I can stick people all day long. It's not about passing out medicines and giving shots. It's because we love people and we want to love people. But bedside nursing has become so much about the bottom line of the hospital and the business of running a hospital that we get burned out because we don't get to love on people anymore. And so I just feel so blessed to be healed enough to be allowed in this space and to get to do what I do every day, because it's just what I feel like my heart was created for.
Yes, I can see that. I always just feel your passion, and you were definitely born to do this. You have that heart, and this is why I have such a passion to reach nurses out there and help them find their own healing, is because you know there's so many things that we do just to try to protect ourselves, where we lose that passion, right? And we get burnout because we don't have our own healing and we're not able to hold space. And we get to the point where we just fill up, and that's our capacity. And there's nothing, at that point. So there's massive droves of nurses leaving the bedside, and you are the example. Yes, you can do what you love, and you can have peace, and you can have all the emotional availability that you need while caring for patients, these families who are losing their children, their loved ones. And so this healing, tell me, you know it's lifelong, and you are creating and maintaining your state of healing. Is it a lot of work for you to do that?
In the beginning, it feels like it. Like, for me, in the beginning, it was like I had to make myself do it. But now it's like instantly, it's like I know that I need it. It becomes just second nature. I'm getting in the car and I'm like, okay, do I allow myself to get to that place where I can be real and open and vulnerable? And I'm automatically going to that clearing before I'm even in the car and turning the key, because I want to let go and just be free in what I'm feeling and process it, because then I can walk into my house with just the positive energy, and whoever's here is getting 100% of me and not somebody else's fear and pain and confusion. And it's just, I'm walking in the door going, what are we going to do today? And it's not, hang on, I just got home from work, I need to fall apart for a minute first. It's just me and 100% authentic, ready to face whatever the next thing we're going to do is, and ready for living.
Oh, I have so many goosebumps. It's so incredible, because it's like, um there's so much processing usually that has to happen before, when a shift ends, and it doesn't just stop there. You don't just clock out and go home and everything's fine. But this healing has allowed you to do that. And from the small amount of time it takes for you to get in your car and process that, by the time you're home, you can show up fully you and have all the emotional availability to be present with your loved ones. I mean, truly spend that time with them as your truest self.
Yeah. And it's really cool because, like, sometimes now the nurses will be like, Kaci, hang on, come here a second, come here, I just need 5 minutes with you and your energy before you walk out of this hospital. And I'm like, yes, let me just infect you with this peace and hope and joy right now, because if somebody else can see that on me, then I know I'm doing something right. I know I am healing, and I know I'm in the right direction. And if I can offer just a little smidge of that to somebody else before I walk out of the hospital, then I've gone above and beyond that day. So
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Can you imagine if all the nurses were giving care, all the nurses were healed and were giving care, what that would look like?
that would be, it would be a happy place to be.
Yes, it really would. It would change everything. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kaci. Is there anything that else that you want to share with us so that we can celebrate with you that we haven't talked about?
Just that I'm not done. I'm going to keep going and keep healing and keep growing. One of my girlfriends, I'm a big music lover, and it's funny because my friend posted on Facebook the other day. I was mowing her yard. I surprised her and went and mowed her yard because she's physically unable to do that. And she posted a picture of me mowing on Facebook, and she was like, "Oh, look at my friend." And my daughter was like, "She's singing, isn't she?" And so it's funny that I am happy enough that if somebody sees a picture of me, they know that if I'm singing. But one of the nurses that I work with on the unit sent me Queen song, "Don't Stop Me Now," and she's like, "I've heard this on the radio several times lately, and every time it makes me think of you. I don't know what you're going to do next, but I can't wait to see what it is."
That's amazing. And now, like you said earlier, right? Like, you know that your dreams are possible. Whatever you put your mind to, and you have the ability now that if any blocks or any fear or anything comes up, you can heal that right then and there. You know, it's like I'll never stop using this word because it's the only word that could come out of my mouth whenever I like went through and cleared all my beliefs and really just felt that healing was unstoppable. Unstoppable. And you healed you and no one can ever take that away from you. And I think that is just so, it's priceless. There's just nothing else out there that gives you that gift, and the gift that keeps on giving through your hands and through your work at the hospital with people who need you so badly. And that you give that gift, Kaci, is amazing. So I just honor you and I appreciate you so much for showing up here today. And guys, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. We'll make sure we get back to you and answer them. And it's been an honor, Kaci. Thank you. I will see y'all next week here in True Alignment Academy, Mondays, 3 p.m. Central. All right, y'all have a great week.